13 years ago, you came first time to this country. Could Hazur kindly share some experience and feelings with us from this day?
She said that 13 years ago Hazur did come to England.
Who told you this?
Imam sir.
I suspected this because I had forgotten which day I came, and the daily work I was caught in a manner that I sometimes lose count of passing days and the others beginning, So this morning when I was returning from the prayer, Imam Sahib reminded me, this was the day when you arrived here in London. So when you said, I understood, he is the man. He must have told you. Huh? So what do you want to, after translating this, will require from her what exactly is that what she wants. Please, you can do it now. Huh?
Maybe what changed for you in these 13 years? What was your impression from England first, and is it now, or even the journey, the way how it happened that you came to England?
It's a question which relates to so many aspects of my life, and as well also of my work. So as far as the expansion of the work during this period is concerned, this is now the common knowledge of everyone knows that the world of Ahmadiyya has expanded beyond all imaginations. Nobody could have dreamt of such huge big changes in the expansion in the world of Ahmadiyya. And the speed of progress is increased to acceleration, which has absolutely no bearing, on which the past speed would have no bearing whatsoever. For instance, as I came here, I remember the progress, the speed of the expansion of Ahmadiyya was globally around 10,000 per year in the whole world. Now today, when a country tells me that we have reached 10,000, I put him to shame. I said, just 10,000? What do you mean? In 1 year, 10,000 only? And those countries which used to take pride in showing the results of a few hundred. I remember, even after my arrival, for the first few years, they continuously stuck to the same figures, in the same range of figures. And whenever I reminded them, they said, oh no, we have improved by 100 more baths this year, and so on and so forth. One such country, I don't want to name it, but one such country who once wrote to me that with the grace of Allah, after your instruction and everything you told us, we have now reached the figure 1,000. It's a landmark in the previous few years. So I wrote to them, you should have been ashamed of this. What do you mean with 1,000? The same country has already exceeded 200,000 in the current year, already. And the remaining 4 months are more productive, because as you move towards the close of the year, the rate of initiation increases by many factors. So this is what's happening to the world of Ahmadiyya, which was absolutely unimaginable before. So to witness that, I go through intense emotional experiences and also stresses at times, when at some places the animosity increases and hostility tries to obstruct the passage of our growth. There's so many problems are created, different countries are involved, money gets pouring in from the oil-rich countries to somehow arrest the growth of Ahmadiyya. So this space also has some problems, and I have to cope with those problems as well. It's not just from the point of view of the enemies' jealousies that the problems are caused. They're also caused because of the large numbers which have to be absorbed into Ahmadiyya by bringing about moral reformation, changing their bad habits into good habits, teaching them the elementary requirements of Islam, Islamic knowledge, which most of these people today do not know. What you consider to be Muslims all over the world, they are just masses without knowledge. And even when they say prayer, with all the caps on and with special attitude of respect, after the prayer, if you ask them the meaning of the prayer, whether they remember the words, nothing doing. And they are the very best. Imagine the worst, who seldom visit a mosque, and whenever they do, they don't know what they're doing. They just are overawed by the atmosphere of godliness in the mosque. So they enter there and they're afraid of timidly and walk out without any change. They come out as they had entered. So this is not Ahmadiyya. This is not what we want to do to the world. We want something else to do to the world, like, for instance, if sugar cane enters one end of a sugar factory, raw as it is broken into pieces, cut into pieces, then it is mashed, and then the juice is made, extracted, and from then on it continues to develop into more and more refined form until it emerges from one end as pure refined white sugar. There's so much in between the two. So we have to go through that process of milling them, putting them through the mill of refinement immediately after they converted. So new departments have emerged everywhere in the world, and I have to keep an eye on every such country and the system of every country, how they are handling these things. So in my mail, official mail of Tabshir, a large section of the mail is dedicated to this, and whenever I find some defect somewhere, I have to remind them, this is what I instructed you, this is what you are not doing. And if you don't know how to go about it, if you think it's too much of a work for you, then you can stagger the load by distributing work to different months and so on and so forth. There are so many other ways in which I instruct them not just to obey the order, but to tell them how to obey the order. How can it become possible for them to obey the order? Because obey they do want to. It's not a distorted attitude of defiance anywhere in the world of Ahmadiyya. They want to obey, but they do not know how to do it. Sometimes they think work is overmuch. So from some countries I remember, when the figures began to run into thousands, they were so worried as to how we shall be able to manage them, organize them. They said the task of organization is mounting high, and we don't know what we can do with this staff. They wanted more and more staff to be pumped in from Pakistan and elsewhere. So I said, no, nothing doing. You have to make your own staff. I told them, look here, when I came here just myself and one or two others to help me. But now imagine, at least 1/3 of the England Jamaat is turned into staff for me. They all become volunteer workers. And I see no dearth of hands to help me. The more I need, the more come. So I said, this is how you should do it. So I tell them how to do it, and sometimes I coax them on by reminding them that when the Holy Prophet came to the world, he was just one alone, without a helping hand. And he was required by God to change the whole world. do you not follow him? Then, they're awakened with new resolution. Yes. I said, this is what we have taught from him. He made his own people, his own staff all around him. That is why the Quran says, Muhammadur Rasulullah, beginning with one man. وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ شِدَّاءُ لِلْكُفَّارِ رُحَمَاءُ. The whole process begins to spread out, and one begins to turn into many. So in this way, my letters have to be live. It's not just a formal order. Oh, President of Ghana Jamaat, do this and do that. No, that wouldn't work. That does not work. One has to put his own personality into the letters. They should start breathing like living things. And then they produce the same effect at the point where they're received and read. So this process goes on daily, day in and day out. That is why I lose count of when one day stopped and when another started. So returning to the time when I came here, in the beginning, of course, the time to pass time was very heavy, because the organization had not yet developed, and because the load on me was mounting without my being able to discharge that, the responsibility imposed by the increasing load, and also because of the sadness of sharing the sadness of the Ahmadis left in Pakistan and so on and so forth, the things which were happening to them. It was a very difficult time in the beginning for almost 1 year. For the first 8 months, I didn't go out a single step for any walk or anything. But gradually, with the grace of Allah, things began to become more comfortable, and God helped me in organizing all this, what you see now, come into a grand scale organization which can compete with the very best organizations in the world. So this is how these things come into being. They just do not sprout out of nothing. But what is happening here, I want to happen everywhere else in the world. So the last 13 years have, with the grace of Allah, not been wasted. They have become so productive now that we have entered a phase where I see a new breakthrough into other dimensions as well. So inshallah, before the end of the century and by the beginning of the next, you'll see more and more surprising things happen to Ahmadiyya, inshallah. So, in a manner of speaking, we owe all this to those who turned me out of the country. At least that is what they think. How they repent. Once a Maulvi type editor of a magazine, mentally he was anti-Ahmadiyya and hostile too. He approached an Ahmadi journalist the night after he had seen a video of mine addressing I think it was the Canadian elite who had come to listen to their speech, or Americans or whatever it was. But he happened to watch the video at some Ahmadi's house. And next morning he approached another journalist whom he had known for some time. He said, "Look here, I could not sleep a second the whole night. What I saw. How I repent that we had sent this man out. Why? What happened to us? Why did we permit it to happen? It's too late now. We can't do anything about it." It was the first moment of total frustration born on him. when he watched just one video of 1 hour sessions of so many hundreds of them take place, and maybe they have run into thousands by now. Because every day I have some performance, some function, some involvement here and there. So a year has 365 days. Multiplied with 13. You can see each day has some functions, some progress, some work where I am with the grace of Allah involved. So we have amassed so much during these years as is gathered in 100 years by ordinary standards. So the pace is increasing, the speed is turning into acceleration. So, yet it is not to the mullahs we owe anything. They were permitted to hurt us by God. And now we see the wisdom of this. Previously, the Ahmadiyya said, why are we permitted to be hurt by the mullah so much and consistently for so many years? Why does not Allah bring a change so that you can immediately return to Pakistan? Now looking back, I can say no. That would have been a blind man's plan, not Allah's. So my coming out of Pakistan was purposeful, was well designed. And the mullahs were employed by the destiny in a manner that they would do us good and do themselves harm. This is the sum total of the lesson we have drawn from it, you know. They're not rewarded for doing us good because they're doing it for their own harm, for their own disadvantage, for their own ultimate suffering. So this is the meaning of Asa an takrahu shay'an wa huwa khairun lakum. So these 13 years have brought to me a meaning of Asa an takrahu shay'an wa huwa khairun lakum in a manner that had never dawned upon me before in my life. I think that should be sufficient. There's so much, to be said and so much to be done. It's the story of each day would take so long, because if I take you along my mail which I receive from different countries and tell you what's happening here and what's happening there and what problem I attended this morning till night, it won't finish in many days, in fact, because God has given me a knack of passing through this mail at a flying speed and grasping everything, and taking decisions, quick decisions, and so on and so forth. But if I begin to relate them to everybody, the account of my day, it would be very long. I remember once the editor of Sunday Times sent a special, I think the lady who came to interview was the editor of that particular column, who had heard of my busy days, and she wanted to write something about me in a column of Sunday Times which says a day in the life of. One day in the life of somebody. So they keep on looking for some people who have a busy life and in whose life more than one person would be involved, more than a family or so would be interested. So she decided to come and interview me on this. After a long interview, of course it had to be long, next morning I was surprised to read that column with a change. Instead of entitling it a day in the life of, she had written a life in the day of. What a fantastic compliment it was, eh? And that is what my old friends noted, and they got so excited. There are some friends who were with me at the University of London, in 1955, 56. They happened to read this column, and then from that they knew I was here. And they wrote to me such an excited letter and complimenting on the intellect of that journalist to just give a slight twist to the title and put in a lifetime of one's activities in that title. So this is what has been happening during the last 15 years, 13 years. We hope we have reached a point where, inshallah, even when we return to Pakistan, what we have achieved will continue to move on with the same pace. When that time reaches in the sight of God, that will be the day when we shall return, inshallah. Not before, not after. Right? So, please. You have also packed a lifetime of into 15 minutes, huh? And how you could remember everything, and how you explained everything in the same sequence, under the same stresses. This is a special gift from Allah to you, huh? Next.